my name is Madeline Stratton. I'm a multidisciplinary artist and educator living and working in Washington, D.C. When we did the initial walkthrough as the Hamiltonian Artists, there were two of the Monet paintings that really caught my eye because of their really bright, saturated colors. I felt like it was a little different than sometimes the typical Monet you might, experience in a museum setting, and especially the Sunset at Pavie. That one, just this beautiful orange yellow sun in the background and the two figures in the foreground. There are little moments where I kind of paired certain colors kind of based on the paintings, but especially the painting across from these that has the shape based on the terrace. I really wanted the two different sets of colors to kind of reflect the two figures that were in that painting. The orange in that painting and yellow are sort of based on the sun that is in that one. So there are a lot of little smaller cues like that I definitely took. And then with this one right here, the sort of dots that are happening kind of reflecting sort of his brushwork a little bit. So little small ways of sort of working those in that may be obvious to some people, I'm not sure, but at least that's kind of what was in my brain as I was working on them. So using French in the titles was really inspired by the Monet paintings that are in the collection, especially the two that I pulled colors from for these pieces. I also grew up taking French, and so for me it was an interesting way to kind of also tie in some of my own personal history by using that in the titles of the pieces. In my practice, I primarily base my work on memories of interior domestic spaces, so there are often a lot of architectural elements to my pieces, especially with the physical shapes that the pieces take. So when we had the opportunity to come and walk through the Kreeger Museum, when we first started talking about the show, it was hard to not be inspired by the architecture of the space, and also take into account that this previously was a home, it was a domestic space, people lived here. So I definitely took a lot of cues from the architecture of the space. So one piece is based on the large windows that are in the Great Hall. This piece right here is based off of the archways that are down by the pool. And then the third piece opposite of these is based on the terrace looking out from the room that was previously the Kreeger's dining room. And I loved that Helen brought up that the Monet paintings actually used to be in that room when it was a dining room. So that just felt like a natural way to tie those in together. And then I knew I wanted to ideally make new work for the show, and I was really excited when I had the chance to actually show these pieces next to the Monet paintings. Very thrilled about that. I'm totally pinching myself still, but it's so great to see them, so close to the inspiration especially where the colors came from. Getting the chance to do site-specific work, I think, is really exciting. As artists, we don't always have that chance. Sometimes we may have work in a show where there's already an established theme, but the chance to get to do something not only for a specific show, but also for a specific space, for me is really exciting. And again, because my work ties in a lot with architecture, it's fun to play off of that. With my most recent solo show that was at Hamiltonian in February, March of this year, I really wanted that to feel like a site-specific show. I really took into account the architecture of the physical gallery. I've also had the chance to do this before with commissioned pieces as well. So I love working this way. I think it's a nice, stretches different parts of your brain and different muscles. Well, it's funny because a few years ago, I was doing a lot of work that felt a little bit more serious, especially with the color palette, using more muted colors. I was using a lot of black silhouettes. And I was really basing the colors of my work on objects that were in the spaces from my memory that I was talking about. And then really a big shift happened in 2020, like for a lot of people. I was scheduled to have a solo show with Hamiltonian that year. It got postponed by a few months. And by the time I was finishing work for the show, I said, I really want to use a brighter palette. It's something I'd kind of thought about before and sort of dipped my toes into a little bit. And I think with the state of the world, it kind of felt like, why not? And since that point, I've really kind of embraced more saturated colors, brighter colors. In some of my other work, I've been using a lot of iridescent materials as well. So I think just kind of embracing that playfulness a little bit, which has made it fun for me. I think being an educator definitely impacts your work as an artist, at least for me. I think So I teach sculpture, drawing, painting, and advanced art as well. And for me, there are materials that I'm teaching or techniques that I'm teaching that I'm not always using in my studio. So I think that kind of forces me to sort of keep those skills up. And then working with students, it's so great to hear their ideas. I get inspired by them. And then just also having the space to kind of experiment along with them has been really great. So next up, going back to teaching in a couple weeks, so getting kind of prepared for that. In the studio, I've been experimenting a lot. So I had my big solo show a couple months ago, and for me, the way my sort of cycles in the studio work is that after I feel like I've made a big body of work, I like to kind of just play and not sort of overthink things. So I'm playing a lot with using ready-made objects and then manipulating them. So I've been working on that and kind of just seeing what's next, hoping to get some commissions going for the fall as well. And I'm wrapping up my Hamiltonian Fellowship, which is kind of crazy. It's been really great, and just the chance to be in Unexpected Occurrences has been wonderful. Of course, everyone at the museum has been so great to work with, and when we were installing, I felt like I was pinching myself the whole time, thinking, watching a Chagall painting be moved to put mine up on the wall, and getting to see these next to the Monets and actually in the space that inspired them has been such an amazing experience. So thank you. It's been really fun to be in this show.